Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am absolutely honoured to be joined today by a man whose voice could shake the rafters of any opera house and melt the hearts of millions. For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
Ciao, Calvin. I am Luciano Pavarotti. Some people called me the king of the high seas, but I always thought of myself simply as a man who loved to sing and loved to eat.
King of the high seas indeed. Let's go back to the start. When and where were you born?
I was born on October 12, 1935, on the outskirts of Modena in northern Italy. A wonderful place full of balsamic vinegar and fast cars.
And what was your given name at birth?
Simply Luciano Pavarotti.
Was there a story behind your name?
My father, Fernando, was a baker, but he had a tenor voice that was like gold. He was my first hero. I think I carried his name and his passion for music from the very first breath I took.
What was your hometown like growing up?
It was humble, especially during the war. We lived in a small apartment building, but it was full of music. My father would sing in the local choir, and I would listen to his records of Gigli and Caruso until they were worn out.
What was your family life like?
Very close. We didn't have much money, but we had plenty of love and plenty of bread. My mother worked in a cigar factory to help us get by. It was a very traditional, warm Italian upbringing.
What kind of kid were you?
Oh, I was a boy who loved the sun. I was obsessed with football, soccer, as you say. I wanted to be a goalkeeper. I had a lot of energy and a very loud voice, even then.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
During the war, we had to move to a farmhouse in the countryside. The sound of the sirens and the planes, that was very scary for a young boy. It makes you appreciate the peace and the music so much more later in life.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
At first, a football star. Then, I thought I would be a teacher. I actually taught primary school for a couple of years. I loved the children, but the music? It was pulling at my heart too hard to ignore.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
Aside from sports, I loved the choir. My father and I joined the Rossini choir in Modena together. We went to a competition in Wales and won first prize. That was the moment I realized music could take me across the world.
What was your first job?
I was an elementary school teacher. Can you imagine me in front of a classroom of little children? I enjoyed it, but I think I spent more time thinking about my voice lessons than the geography lessons.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
When I was about 19, my teacher Arrigo Pola told me that my voice was a gift from God. I had a natural placement for the high notes that others had to work decades to find. I felt a great responsibility to share that gift.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Entering the Achille Perry competition in 1961. I almost didn't go because I was discouraged, but I went, I won, and I made my debut as Rodolfo in La Bohème. That one performance opened every door in Italy.
What was your biggest break?
Filling in for Giuseppe Di Stefano at Covent Garden in London in 1963. Nobody knew who this big Italian fellow was, but after that night, they wouldn't let me leave. And of course, the Metropolitan Opera debut later, that made me a citizen of the world.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
The waiting and the dieting. I had to sell insurance for a while to pay for my vocal lessons. And in Italy, everyone is a critic. You have to prove yourself every single night, or the audience will let you know they are unhappy.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Once, early on, I had a small nodule on my vocal cords and I thought it was over. I decided to stop singing, and strangely, once I relaxed and gave up, the nodule disappeared. It was as if my voice said, "Do not worry, I am still here."
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
I never traveled without my, quote, bent nail. I found one on stage once and had a great performance, so after that, I had to find a bent nail backstage at every opera house in the world. It was my little secret for luck.
What was your life like before fame?
Simple and quiet. I was a husband and a father living in Modena, riding my bicycle and singing whenever I could. I still miss that simplicity sometimes, even when I was playing to stadiums.
How did relationships change after success?
You have to learn who loves Luciano and who loves quote unquote Pavarotti. But my friends in Modena, the ones I played cards with, they never changed. To them, I was just the baker's son who happened to have a loud voice.
Did fame bring happiness?
Happiness comes from the music and the family. Fame brings the ability to do Pavarotti and friends and raise money for children in need. That made me very, very happy.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
You lose your privacy. And for a man who loves to eat as much as I do, everyone is always watching your plate. I couldn't go to a restaurant without it becoming a front-page story.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
Some thought that because I did the three tenors or sang with pop stars, I didn't take the opera seriously. But I studied my scores with great discipline. I just wanted to bring the opera out of the museum and into the sunshine.
What was your darkest moment?
Losing my son Ricardo, who was a twin. That is a pain that no music can fully heal. You carry that in your heart every time you sing a tragic aria.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It changed my surroundings, more beautiful houses, better pasta, but it didn't change my soul. I was still the man who loved horses and painting and a good joke.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My father for the voice and Joan Sutherland. Singing with her taught me how to breathe. She was a giant of the stage and a wonderful friend.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was doing my, quote, farewell tour. I wanted to say thank you to all the cities that had been kind to me for 40 years. I was also teaching young singers in Modena. Passing on the tradition was so important to me.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on September 6th, 2007, in my beloved home in Modena.
What happened?
I had been fighting pancreatic cancer. I fought it with all the strength I had, but in the end, it was time for the curtain to fall.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I carried a white handkerchief on stage, not just for style, but because I used to sweat so much from the nerves and the lights. It became my trademark, but it started as a necessity.
What was your favorite food?
Pasta, any kind, but especially the tortellini of my region. And I loved the Pavarotti sandwich at my favorite deli, though I usually added more cheese.
What was your favorite book?
I loved the works of Giovanni Guareschi, the creator of Don Camillo. Very funny, very Italian.
Did you have any known rivalries?
People tried to make a rivalry between me and Placido Domingo or Jose Carreras, but we turned it into the three tenors. We became the best of brothers. There is plenty of room in the sky for many stars.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
Once, during a performance of Tosca, the dead soldiers who were supposed to execute me were local extras who didn't know the opera. Instead of exiting the stage, they stayed and watched me sing my final aria. I had to pretend I was dying while three soldiers were standing right there looking at me like I was a wonder.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
My horses! I loved my equestrian center in Modena. It was my escape. People thought a big man like me shouldn't be on a horse, but we understood each other perfectly.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Be disciplined. The voice is a muscle, but the heart is the motor. If you don't love what you do, the audience will know. And always, always eat well.
Luciano, this has been an absolute delight. Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
Only this. Life is beautiful. Music is a way to reach God. I hope when you hear my voice, you feel a little bit of the joy I felt when I sang for you. Thank you, Calvin, for letting me talk again. It was a grandissimo time.
Thank you, Luciano. That was truly a masterclass in living life to the fullest. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.